This video is all about what you can expect in the real estate market over the winter and into 2022. And I'll address it from a national level as well as a local level, specifically Southeast Palm Beach County. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Igoe. I'm a full-time, full-service realtor with an all-star team that services all of South Florida. Now, as you can tell, it is a winter wonderland behind me. I got my festive jacket on, and it's right about 68, 69 degrees out. So, nonetheless, I'm going to battle this inclement weather to give you all the information that you need to know to make the best decisions for yourself, for your family, and for your financial bottom line. And before I get too far along, happy holidays. Right now, we have so many people that are calling and asking, when can we expect to get more homes for sale? When will there be more listings that hit the market? Now, in a normal market, it's typically the second quarter of each year, essentially the spring real estate market. And it's highlighted here on the slides, April, May, and June of every year. The reality is, and let me be very clear here, the real estate market is far from normal. I suspect we'll see more listings this winter than at any other time of the year. The reality of the pandemic and coming out of the last couple of years is that seasonality in the real estate market is no longer really a thing, or at least it's nothing like what it used to be. Home sellers have historically moved when something in their lives have changed, whether it's a new baby, getting married, a divorce, or a new job. That's according to Jessica Lautz, the Vice President of Demographics at NAR. Now, she goes on to say that the pandemic has impacted everyone. And for many, this has become the impetus to sell and make a housing trade. The pandemic caused a lot of people to realize that they need something different in a home, and they need to live in a home which provides the most opportunity, safety, and lifestyle for themselves and for their family. And with all the nonsense that's going on right now with the forced vaccinations for employees and now children, now more than ever, homeowners want more freedom. Now, it goes on to say that the pandemic likely spurred occupants to shorten their home stay, as tenure in homes decreased from 10 years down to 8. This is the largest single year change in home tenure since NAR began collecting this kind of data. And here's what it looks like graphically, going all the way back to 1985. And you can see there's an average of 6 years for someone staying in their home. Now, after the housing crisis, people chose to stay in their homes a heck of a lot longer, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And the average is just over 9 years in a home over the last decade. And there are lots of good reasons for that. A lot of people out there did not have the equity to make the move, or they were underwater for so long in the home that they own that they decided to simply not do anything, just pay it off and stay there forever. I mean, look, we saw what happened to people during the housing crisis in 2008. Now, coming out of the pandemic, we're seeing that dip down again. Well, obviously, 1 year does not create a trend, but I think we can say that it represents pent-up seller demand in all those years from all those folks that stayed in their homes. The meaning of home has dramatically changed. There's more equity in homes today than there has been ever before. And this has a lot of people thinking that now is the right time to move. And I'll say it a little bit differently. Anybody who owns a home and has a pulse is at minimum thinking about selling. And I believe we will start to see that play out in the winter and into Q1. Let's take a look at what George Ratu at Realtor.com says. The pandemic has delayed plans for many Americans and homeowners that are looking to move on to that next stage of their life. And that's no exception. Recent survey data suggests that the majority of prospective sellers are actively preparing to enter the market this winter. This study is saying we're seeing a lot of those people preparing to enter the market this winter. In that study, 65% said they've either just listed or plan to this winter. 93% say they've already taken the steps towards listing their home, which includes working with an agent. 36% have researched the value of their home and other homes in the neighborhood, as well as started making repairs or doing what they need to do to sell their home and get the maximum value. Now, this recent survey data suggests that there's a growing share of homeowners and potential sellers that are eager to find new homes. Now, I'm not exactly Nostradamus here, but I suspect we're going to see more activity among sellers and buyers than we've seen in quite some time. And here's why. Interest rates. Interest rates are going to rise. The Fed is finally stopping the insanity and pumping the brakes. Now let's take a look at the 30-year fixed. And we'll look at January of 2020, which was prior to the pandemic. It was knocking on 4%. The average 30-year fixed right now is 3.1%. And yes, there are many that are calling for that number to rise over the next year, and I'll show you exactly what analysts are saying. If you were to ask me what's going to happen with interest rates, I think we're going to go back to where we were. And to give you some context on what that means, this is a historical perspective on interest rates looking at 2016, 17, 18, and 19. 4 really normal years in real estate. And we were balanced somewhere between 3.5% and 5%. I think it's fair to assume we're heading back there. I think we're heading back to a much more normal interest rate environment. And we've obviously seen phenomenal rates over the last year or so. Historically low rates on a 30-year fix. I think it's fair to anticipate that we're going to be headed back to where we were prior to the pandemic. Now, it's also totally reasonable to want to know what the impact of rising interest rates are on home prices, home sales, and all of these things. If rates are going to rise, that must mean that homes won't sell or prices must crash. It's going to absolutely negatively impact the market, right? Well, not exactly. That's not what history shows. And in my experience, the charts and the numbers don't lie. I went back and took a look at the impact of rising interest rates on home prices and home sales. First, home prices are going to feel some impact of rising mortgage rates. Period, end of story. There's no easy way to say that. That's just the truth. But this is a look going all the way back to year 2000. Notice in the line graph, there is the interest rate. And what you see in the bar graph is appreciation or depreciation during the housing crisis. It is imperative that I point out that in each rising interest rate environment, there's no depreciation except during the anomaly of the housing crisis. What becomes much more clear, we look at the rising interest rate environments. The first one around 2005, there was less appreciation in 2006. And if you go out there and look at 2012, 13, 14, rising interest rate environments, you see less appreciation than the previous year. The next one was 16, 17, and 18, go up, and then we come back down a little bit. So a slight impact in home price appreciation. But to be clear, price appreciation, which is resistant to rising mortgage rates. And here's why. Analyst Mark Fleming, and I think he sums this up best, says that home price appreciation is resistant to rising mortgage rates, primarily because most sellers would rather withdraw from the market than sell at lower prices. That's a phenomenon we refer to as downside sticky. It is far more likely for a seller to say, if I can't get as much for my home, or if my home is not appreciating as fast as I want it to be, I'm gonna take it off the market. That's exactly what Mark is saying here. We don't typically see depreciation in the market. We see prices slightly impacted by rising interest rates. Now, the other question that is very important is home sales. Are they impacted by rising interest rates? Well, if you go back all the way back to 1999, which is what you can see in this graphic, where we have interest rates in the line graph and home sales in the bar graph, we can see that home sales aren't impacted by rising mortgage rates. Now, I'm not going to walk you through each scenario, but you can see right here, each one of the red bars being rising interest rate environments, and they're not corresponding with lower home sales. So if you think an uptick in interest rates means a downtick in home sales, well, when you go back and look at it historically, simply doesn't hold up. It's not true. The economy is improving. Millennials are continuing to age into their prime home buying years in large numbers, which remains good for the housing market. We expect a rising interest rate environment going into next year. I simply don't see that affecting the housing market dramatically. It will cost more to buy a home as we go through the next several months and into next year. So what does that mean? Well, check out this first graphic, mortgage rate projections. This is an outlook from the 4 leading providers that we follow: Fannie, Freddie, MBA, and NAR. What are they saying? Sometime between the middle and the end of next year, they are forecasting somewhere between 3.5% and 4% on the average 30-year fixed. It's going to cost more and interest rates will rise. Now, I'm obviously not here today with a crystal ball. I don't know what interest rates are going to be by any stretch of the imagination. But the truth is, I don't need a crystal ball to know they're going to be higher. This second graphic is the home price forecast for 2022. A lot of people out there asking me what's going to happen with housing next year. They're concerned, they're afraid, and they may be thinking, here we go again. So just to be clear, analysts are calling for 5.1% appreciation nationally housing next year. You can see there's anywhere from 7.5% to almost 3% appreciation for next year. This is a direct nod to seeing more inventory come into the market. Now in South Florida, I suspect that growth is significantly higher. With all the talk about bubbles and crashes, it would not surprise me at all, and of course time will tell, if we're really just at the start of a bubble locally, as opposed to the opposite scenario. Prices are always going to be dictated by supply and demand in any market. And the bottom line here is that housing sales are forecasted to increase this year and perform very well again in 2022. In 2020, we sold 6.5 million homes in this country. We're forecasted to sell more than that this year and more than that next year. So everything all considered, we've had phenomenal years in the real estate market. And next year is going to be very good too. Now this slide does a great job to show exactly where we're at in the real estate market based on months of inventory in this extreme seller's market that we're in. So if you're thinking about selling your home, there's literally never been a better time. And this graphic underscores it. And it underscores it going all the way back to 1999 and shows what the market looks like. It's been a great seller's market for those who have decided to sell. Now, many people out there say these days, they don't really know. They don't want to buy at the top of the market. To be clear, it is certainly not the top of the market here in Southeast Palm Beach County. But I understand what you're saying and I understand what you're feeling. You may be thinking that if we sell, we're going to have to pay more for another home. Because as we just forecasted, there's appreciation. The best time to buy a home is this year. And the next best time is right now, if you're ready. This survey was done by the Home Price Expectation, and it's based on this year all the way through 2026. Buying a home, average home price, what appreciation is at stake? And that number kind of blew my mind. It's $111,000. That's right. Over the next 5 years, an average priced home, $111,000 in appreciation. So if you're thinking about making a move, you need to know what's at stake. As far as Florida is concerned, specifically Southeast Palm Beach County, meaning Boca Raton, Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, and Wellington, nothing has changed from a hyper-local level. And please check the playlist below or the links at the top of this video at the screen to learn more about any of those cities. But right now in all those places, it's low inventory, strong appreciation, heavy demand. What has changed dramatically is the sense of urgency in their desire to move. With the new restrictions and shot mandates that exist or are intensifying in other places, these folks are done and they can't leave fast enough. And the stronger that demand grows. Now add into the mix, we've got international buyers who are finally able to travel and move. Foreign money is strong and it's everywhere. This is Supply and Demand 101. 2022 is going to be an incredible year. I hope you enjoyed my year-end wrap-up video and my 2022 forecast. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment down below. Your engagement and participation allow me to grow the channel, so thank you in advance. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. So, what do you think 2022 will look like? Are you thinking about moving ever? Please let me know in the comments down below. We love living in South Florida and suspect that you will too. But the truth is demand is so high and inventory is so low that if you want to live here, you must contact me now. Homes go very fast. There is no time to waste. As a local expert, I typically know what's coming on the market before it even hits the MLS. And once it does, it's way too late to get involved. Over the last few years, we've helped hundreds of people buy and sell homes right here in South Florida, and we absolutely love it. As 40-year Florida residents, we know all the best places to fit your desired lifestyle and budget. So if you're even thinking about moving to Palm Beach County or really anywhere in South Florida, you've got to reach out to me. Call, text, DM, send a smoke signal, a carrier pigeon, by any means necessary, because we've got your back when it comes to moving to or living in South Florida. And until next time, peace! Merry Christmas.